and gentlemen, welcome to Kingdom of Kodiak. I'm Kodiak. With me today, I have Count Saint Godric Grai, the Dragon of the North. How did you get Dragon of the North when you aren't? Go ahead.
I am the northernmost park in my kingdom. And I think there's two maybe master dragons in our kingdom. And so I'm a big Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. And so Iroh, one of my favorite characters, is Dragon of the West. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this. And so Master Dragon, and then being the northernmost park in my kingdom.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming on today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. We've already had some great talks, and we'll give you guys some insight to what's going on later. But let's not waste any more time, Godric. Let's get into the bare necessities. Sorry, Sin. Still, I would like to know, how long have you been playing Amtgard?
I started, 2011, I think, was my first Amtgard sign-in. And that was when I was at college, so sophomore year of college.
So
2011.
10 plus years straight now?
Yep.
Awesome. Great. I would also like to know if you could tell us a little bit about your persona. Who is Godric Grai?
So Godric Grai currently is a old, wise hermit is kind of the goal. Think like some of the old, the old church fathers who would hang out in the desert and people would come to them for knowledge. Is kind of been, I've had a medical thing that's had me out off the field for about a year or two. And so I've been trying to role play that up, be the quest giver for our park stuff and, reaving and stuff like that. But through that is the old broken, soldier who is now wizened in his age, helping the new fighters venture forth is kind of where Godric sits right now.
Fantastic. Gotta love it. Where does the name come from?
So one of the things that I wish that we would do with new players is not put the pressure to pick a name, because my park did you need to pick a name or we're going to pick a name for you thing. And so at 20 years old or whatever it was, 19, I'm like, oh, I'm reading Harry Potter. Let's just pick Godric. And I'm like, okay, cool. But now if I were to pick another name now, it would not be Godric, which is kind of funny. But all of, everyone knows me, all my awards say Godric, like it's stuck. It's here. I can't change it now. And so that's where Godric came from. It was got from Harry Potter and Godric Gryffindor. And then Gray it's spelled weird. It's Grai. It's a French word that I just thought was interesting. I enjoy, in Star Wars as well, the Gray Jedi, which was always a cool part of it. And so I went with Gray a little bit there. And then I joke quite a bit that I play in the gray areas when it comes to like our tournaments, especially for arts and science tournaments. Kind of early on in my career, I played the rules, as it were, in arts and science tournaments and stuff. And so kind of got that nickname a little bit. And then I'm like, then I just kind of ran with it, and we're like, all right, we're doing Gray.
Well, remember what you said there, because it's important for later when we get to the toughest of the KOK questions. All right. So Godric, what award or achievement would you say you're most proud of receiving?
For me, it would be my masterhood, my master dragon. I know a lot of people here will say their knighthood. But for me, my masterhood was probably more significant to me, because that was your skill is where the peers want it to be. Yeah. And kind of all of the white belt and all the responsibilities that come with that were almost an afterthought to me. Cause I feel like I was doing a lot of those anyway. This just now formalizes that I get to have a squire. Sure. And that wasn't going to change whether I got it or not. But my master dragon, I didn't expect it, because the tournament that I got it from, the kingdom I was in at the time was the Kingdom of the Rising Winds. And we don't have the expectation of you have to win a Dragon Master to become a master in the ANS fields. Okay. But I personally really enjoy arts and science tournaments. I entered all of them for years and years and years, just really, really enjoyed them. And so my worst competition ever, I got third place in the kingdom and I was down. I was like, this is terrible. It was that tournament was the one I got my master dragon for. Not my wins, not my previous or after wins, but it was the third place. When I thought I had done the worst, the kingdom was like, here, we think you're the best at what you do. And that just meant a whole lot to me.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, to be like, man, I struggled really hard. And them to be like, no, this is This is master work. Please and thank you.
Yep. Well, and in that tournament, we had the first and second place people who beat me are both masters now in Serpent Knights. And so it was a fairly stacked tournament, but at the time, none of us were. And so it was kind of those like third place. That's not great, but then the award came out and I almost didn't go to court. My knight had already left because he didn't think I was getting it either. He had pieced out early. And so like, I'm just sitting in the back. I don't even have good garb on. I've got like a hat, like a fishing hat on. I'm just like, I'm not even paying attention. And they called me up. I'm like, oh, we gotta take everything off and get up there.
Wow. Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations. That's
Thanks.
good to hear. I like that story. Sir Alucard and Cassiel would both like to know, what's your favorite class battle game?
So I really enjoy a good old fashioned Bridge Wars. The Kingdom of the Rising Winds every November has an event called Bridge Wars, and the format changes a little bit, but the gist of it is you get, a 40 to 50 yard long bridge that is 3 people wide, put a 100-pound punching bag in the middle. You win by getting the punching bag to the other side of the bridge. And it's so fun, and it's full class, and there are different rules. Sometimes you can only have 3 of each class. Sometimes they'll add neutral monsters. Sometimes they'll add some other objectives in, but the core of the game is a meat grindery type, and it's 10 on 10 with, and it's just the most fun I've ever had in Amtgard is those type of bridge in your face type of fights.
Wow. Godric, I have to know if with Battle Night being a thing now, could a Bridge War 10 on 10 tournament be a way of getting us to understand what a good battle master is?
I think so, because there are a lot of different roles that go into that. So for instance, you have some guys who are really, really good at the prep and the planning, but aren't necessarily going to be on our A team. They're not in our top 10 best fighters, but without them, our fighting company wouldn't do as well as we did.
Sure.
Because they helped with the prep. But then you also have the people who are on the field who have taken those plans and are really good at executing them and overseeing. And then you have the people who maybe aren't necessarily focused on the whole scheme, but they're saying, go to this lane, your job is this. Because like, for instance, this most recent one, it was set up with 3 lanes like a League of Legends map. And there were capture points on each where the lanes shifted. And so,
Okay.
You'd have to have people on the field that are like, okay, it was 15 on 15 for this year. It was like, you 3 are going here. That is your objective. And you get some people who are fantastic at objectives. And then you need the people who are good at planning. And then I think those large scale type games, competitive games like that, let people shine in a lot of different ways, which is, I think, what we're looking for in Battlemaster.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask you about Battlemaster later too, but also any alternative to Phoenix League will have my seal of approval. I've played it once. I got begged to do it. We got ran over. People were, I didn't have a great time. Anyways, so Godric, when you're able to take the field and you're able to play, what's your favorite class and what is your favorite weapon set with that class?
Yeah. So Paladin, since I got knighted during COVID. And so I've only got to actually play Paladin a few times. But when I do, I really enjoy it. I've always loved pole fighting. And so being able to have some of the support elements that I enjoy when I play healer, but then being able to put on a little bit of armor and being able to still use the pole. When I first started playing Amtgard, I wanted to be a cleric. I wanted a bunch of armor and I wanted heal spells, and that just wasn't an option. And so then when I unlocked Paladin, 3 months before it got unlocked anyway, or whatever, but the few times I've played that, I've really enjoyed it. I also enjoy healer quite a bit, and warrior is a ton of fun too. Just 6 points of armor and a pole arm is a blast.
I'm hearing pole arm as the overarching part of that. So, okay, awesome. All right. So those were the bare necessities. Sorry, Sin. Let's get to the 3 questions KOK viewers have been asking since episode 1. We're at 91. So we're in here a minute. Of course, they've had to be modified because we've had some solutions. To start with the first one, Sir Glenolf has received a toaster from Calfrax, delivered to me, given to Sir Alucard, and supposedly given to Sir Glenolf. That being said, should Sir Glenolf receive a soda maker?
I think so.
Okay.
But I think that it should have the same provenance as the other with that it needs that many like lists to be able to get to him, or it doesn't count.
Okay, so at least 3 points of contact before it touches Sir Glenel's hands. It doesn't have to start with Kelthrax, and it doesn't have to end with Sir Alucard. But if it doesn't have 3 points, we shouldn't get it to him. I like that.
Yep.
I like that. Okay. Stillhut would like to know, who's the best bear?
So the best bear. I'm not sure. I think. Are we asking my favorite like type of bear, or?
This is why we word the question this way, because it makes people have to make a decision.
So
the best bear.
My favorite bears, hands down, are the little red pandas that, like, when you scare them, they throw their arms up and fall over. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. I love those guys. So those are the best, I think.
All right. And Freya would like to know: are bears overrated?
No, I don't think so. I spent 5 years of my life in Tennessee. I can't say they're overrated. I love every time you see a bear, it's special. You don't see them too often. So.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, red bear is none of the bears that would earn points. So we're not going to give any points out today. Matter of fact, we're going to give -0 points to everybody. Okay.
I like it.
So Godric, what would you think, or what is your opinion on Dragonspine getting a mobile pool and or jacuzzi?
I like it. I think it would be fun. The downside is I don't trust the cleanliness of most Amp-Guarders. So I wouldn't necessarily want to share a pool on a Saturday night after an event with a lot of Amp-Guarders. But if I could be the first one in it on Friday, I think I'd enjoy it. Okay.
All right. So, we could do a lotto or a bingo or whatever. Ball draw.
Nobility first. That's how you make
nobility first, I guess. I mean, so knights go last, right? That's how that.
Yep.
And Redbeard has had the strangest of the options of how to fund it with the Men of Dragonspine calendar, where we get Sir Sane posing with a bat over his shoulders and stuff. But how would you fund it?
So this is how I would fund most things in Amp-Guard. I think the SCA does this, and it works very well for them. We should hire in at all of our events an actual like bartender to come in and sell alcohol, and they get money for it. We get money for it. That way, they're the ones that take the liability for checking cards and whatnot. So that's off of the kingdom, and the SCA makes a ton of money. Like even at their like day tournament events, they have an open bar, but it's a full bar. You go and cash bar, you go and pay for it. And anything in Amp-Guard that I get the opportunity to, and you have to hire locals, right? Because of code and all of that. Yeah. But I think that's the best way that we could make some money.
All right, Freya, if you're listening, as the regent of Dragonspine, let's get some booze at our events. I'm sure that'll go over swimmingly at the churches. Anyways, okay. So those are the 3 questions KOK viewers have been asking since episode 1. Let's get to your questions. We're going to start with a new starter. Well, it's an old starter now. KOK. Godric, what's your weirdest flex?
My weirdest flex. I would say, man, that's a hard one. Probably, okay, how about this? Probably not weird, but it's a flex, and it's one that no one else can really say, and I'm pretty proud of it. To my knowledge, I was the first one in the game mastered for my craft, which is woven belts, paracord, macrame stuff. And so there have been, so Lael has gotten it since me, and Corin Grai, both on the East Coast. Corin's at 9 and almost there. But to my knowledge, I was the first one to get masterhood for woven belts, and I'm pretty excited about that.
That is something to be excited about. We talked off camera. That was one of my first go into the arts and science, and if you've seen any of my arts and science sense, minus that Mew right there, I'm atrocious. Okay. This question is stayed on because it has a bear pun connected to it. What would you say? Are you the torchbearer of any particular skills?
Yeah, I would say the weaving, mainly paracord. Others, I had seen the art of finger weaving and macrame was around, and I saw that when I was a new player, and I kind of liked it. But there was one gentleman named Thalion who I saw had a paracord belt, and I had never seen a paracord belt before, and I loved it, fell in love with it, messaged him back and forth, and the dude's a saint because at 19 years old, never only met me once. He spent hours with me through Facebook Messenger teaching me how to do this stuff, and from there we've gone on. I've done a bunch of videos and how-tos, and we've got a Weavers Guild on Facebook if you're interested, and gone through, and that's kind of been my pet project, is getting woven belts and different patterns and whatnot out to our game.
I should have asked you to have a couple ready for the episode, because I would be interested to see what you got there. But
I don't think I have any in this room.
Yeah, it's how it always happens, right? Like I think of something like that. It's not Lancer who did the episode in his shop and was like, "Oh, I'll just go grab a bat real quick," Anyways, Lightning and Beatrix would like to know, what's your favorite garb that you own?
So I've got two. The one that I have on now is a Mongolian themed deal. And it's my company colors, and one of my symbols for my company is a cross. So it's got those all over it. I like that one quite a bit. It's linen, absolutely, made, by TB, who is now a master garber. She wasn't at the time. This is one of the ones that she was as she was working her way up. So that's one of my favorites.
Okay.
And then my second favorite is a hand-me-down tunic that I purchased from a retiring member in my fighting company. And our company colors are blue, green, and silver. And it was a solid black tunic with our cross on it, with the phoenix over the top of the cross. And I remember as a new player, like first event ever, seeing this guy who I had no idea who he was, and falling in love with that tunic. And I tried to, and once I joined the company and got to know him, I spent years trying to convince him to sell this thing to me, because he was kind of like playing around with retirement and wasn't really, and then finally I got it this year, and it's just my favorite. It's a solid black tunic with company colors on the sleeves and our crosses, and then a big cross on the front with a big white phoenix on it. And it's just, from day one of the ones that I always loved and admired.
That's awesome. That's super great. Melody Song Taylor would like to know what you're a serpent knight through paracord. Is it your favorite crafting skill?
I feel like I'm obliged to say yes. Just because it's not the one that I enjoy the most now. I think historically it probably was, but at this point I make and I sell belts to pay for my events and stuff. And it is kind of a drag for me to do it now. It's like, oh, I got an order. Okay. And it's just because I've done so many of them, and I think probably the thing I have the most fun with now, I'm getting into digital award making, which is super fun. I can't draw. It's funny. I have a master dragon, but I am one of the least artistic people you'll ever meet. I can't draw stick figures. I can't, but when I get on Photoshop and Illustrator, I can make some fun stuff. And so I really enjoy that. That's probably what I enjoy the most. But the one I've done the most and have historically enjoyed the most was weaving. Okay.
Well, since you have deviated a little bit, but you still have a lot of weaving in your background, what's your favorite project you've ever done?
So I have a belt that my squire has now, and it was my first best in show belt at a kingdom level tournament that I ever had. It was a red belt, and then it was a blue, silver, and green belt. And they started off as two separate belts. And then when they got from hip to hip in the back, they merged into one big belt. And then at the end, when they wrapped back around, they split off back into two separate belts. It's weird. I love it. And I got on a 5.0 scale, I got like a 4.92 or 3 or something like that. And it was my first best in show. And it was, to this day, my highest scoring item I've ever entered in a kingdom level tournament. And I wore it for 6 years and then have passed it down to my squire. And it's my favorite thing I've ever made.
Dang, I love it. That sounds fantastic. I love it. Wow. That's cool. All right. The next question was a question that Stillhead had asked that I'm going to change because she wants to give props to this.
Okay.
That's something I made. But I'm going to steal it. That is my master scroll. That is Gallifreyan. That indicates my master scroll. And that is a bear with the anti-possession tattoo on its chest. That is mine. Why is that the best painting on my wall?
So I think the imagery compared to your love affair with bears, I always love it when people can make awards that tie into the person who is getting the award.
Yeah.
I love just the generic, any award that you get is special, but especially you've got yours hanging up. I've got mine hanging up, right? Like the ones that are special to the person, these are works of art that these people are going to remember for years and years and years to come. And so I love seeing awards that tie the personality of the person to the one who's getting the award.
Yeah, it's awesome. I saw the Gallifreyan for the first time and I almost lost it. It's a tattoo that I still got to get of Gallifreyan, but the bear also has an anti-possession tattoo, and I have an anti-possession tattoo. Cool. So it's so good. And still doesn't get enough credit every week for how awesome that is. So I switched the question so she could. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Another question that has stayed because it's got a bear pun in it. So we're keeping the bear theme going. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Fitting.
Yeah. So what would you consider to be a bare necessity of Amp-Garters that new players should focus on?
The piece of advice I give to all new players is find the areas of this game that you love and focus on those, and don't participate necessarily in the areas that you don't enjoy. What I've seen more people get burnout from is forcing themselves into areas of the game that they don't enjoy for whatever reason, whether it's an overbelt pushing them in or a friend who's asking them to do specific things. Our game is really broad, and everybody, if you get bored in Amp-Guard, you are a boring person. There are so many things that you can do. And how do you become a veteran player? It's find the things that you enjoy and lean into them. Have fun. I'm a hyper competitive person. So I do the Bridge War company battles, and I do arts and science tournaments, and I fight in fighting tournaments. And like, I'm a competitive person. That's what I love. Now, if you're not a competitive person, you're a quester, sick. Let's lean into that. Let's do a once a month quest at our park. If that's what you want to enjoy, find the things you love and just do them. Then don't worry about all the other aspects of the game. Let those people enjoy what they love, but you find what you love and run to it.
Well said. And every time that someone answers this question, they give that answer, but yet we still have people that don't understand. Have fun. Like we still have to fight against that. And it's so weird that KOK keeps bringing people on and say, hey, just have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Find something you love. Stick with it. Make something of what what you're good at. And people still are like,
well, and I think the second part of that is almost as important, if not more important. Find what you love and then let other people do what they love. I think that's one of the things that took me a while to learn in the game is not everybody has fun the same way that I do. And that's okay. The game is wide enough where if you enjoy questing and you can't stand the turning culture, don't participate in it. Cool. But don't, and vice versa. If you're a stick jock and you think the flurbs are awful at Night Quest, let them go have their fun. It doesn't hurt you at all to let them have their fun. So find what you enjoy, let others enjoy what they enjoy. Everybody gets to have a good time.
Well said. Okay. Let's get a little bit more into you and some of your tastes here. Stillhat would like to know if you could tell us about your heraldry.
So let's see if I can get it on the camera. It's a crown of thorns. And here, I actually might even be able to pull it because it's kind of far off. This is a crown of thorns with the key row in the middle of it. Black on black with a white background I guess it's flip-flop because it's on the camera. But that's my heraldry. And then this is Kingdom heraldry of the Kingdom when I got this in Rising Winds. And then this is kind of the cross of my fighting company. So kind of all the ones that I wear in there. So
awesome. Sick.
We'll put that back up later.
Yeah. It's the problem with doing a show. You take stuff down live. You can't put it back up live. Your back's to the camera. Come on.
Yep.
We're learning stuff. All right. These questions have only stayed because the people keep saying yes every so often. Okay. Cato would like to know. And actually, Sir Manthax, Monarch of the Burning Lands, back and support these questions. Back shields for version 9. Are you in or out?
I am in. 100% I am in. It should be a thing and should have been a thing for a while.
All right.
I'm a DAG player too, though. I'm a DAG player too. So that my colors are showing through.
Yeah. Well, and there's been some interesting conversations about if the shield only covers your back and doesn't cover your like a shoulder shot or a hip shot, that it would be okay. That it has a maximum size requirement to be on your back. Sure, whatever. But people are still really worried about spinning in combat, right? Like spinning to get a block. I don't necessarily care for the back shields, but I spin all the time. I'm a big dumb spinner. It's what I do.
Some of the coolest moments for me in Dag Bell have been turning with the back shield and catching a block on an archer. Like when an archer is shooting you, you see it, and then you are able to turn and get it on the back and then keep going. It's so fun. So useful.
Okay. All right. Well, Cato, it survives again. You're actually on a run here, I think, because Shion actually said that there are some instances where, yeah, why not? So whatever, Cato, your beard's beautiful. Cato also gets this question then because of the last one, and you've already answered it, but we like to hear the words to flurb or not to flurb.
I am for the first 10 years of Amtgard, I would have been not to flurb. The last little bit, I have been leaning more into it because that's what the new players at my park really enjoy. And so I have been trying to help them have fun, and I have been having fun along the way, which I didn't expect. So I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I think both can be fun and enjoyable.
Okay. Yeah. I like the idea of the RP, but I also like the idea of, like, my park is a bunch of stick jocks. Like it's Dragonspine. It still has that stick jock culture. So I made it a personal RP. You know, we talked about this off camera too, doing the journal entries, and I tell my own story, and I get people involved for my kingdom by being like, oh, you're participating in the story. And it's gotten me to the point where my character is, but I didn't have to invest being at a park with stick jocks and trying to RP it at that moment. So
the hard part for me was I love role playing in Dungeons and Dragons. My like ideal tabletop game is one where we roll like 2 dice for the evening, and the rest of it's story building and character building. Yeah. But then when I come to Amtgard, most of it is just the most cringy. I'm a half gold dragon, half minotaur, 14-page backstory. I'm a god slayer, and I've been playing 2-week type of stuff. Yeah. And it took me a while to get over that, because that's what new players enjoy. And if that is what they are going to have fun doing I'm sure we'll get into this. I think one of the key responsibilities for me as a knight is to make sure other people around me are having fun. And so if that is what my 3-week, 4-week new player is going to have fun with, and they're going to come back to the game because of it, it's my job to help facilitate that if I can. And so I have gotten into it and had more fun than I expected to.
Yeah, it's just you. So I'm going to tell a quick story. Sorry, this is what I do on the show. It's not about me, but I just go for rants. We had a player who came to park, and he has a name. I don't want to give too many details because I didn't ask for permission to tell the story. But he's got a name that would lead you to believe that he's not from a medieval environment, right? But his story is that he's a really great fighter. Well, he's not, but there's times where if it didn't count for anything, sure, I'll let him take me, and, he'll get his, he gets super excited when he does it. So, shout out to that person if they're paying attention.
You know who you are, noob.
You know who you are.
Noob is an affectionate term. Sorry. I know some people don't like that term. For me, it's an affectionate term. It's like, you're my noob. I love you.
Zana would like to know, are there any rain themes that you would like to see in Amtgard?
So Kingdom of the Winter's Edge is doing an Avatar theme right now. And I am Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'm having crazy fun with it. One of my favorite settings. Really, really enjoy it. I had never seen it done until now. 10 out of 10. I like there's a book series I read in high school called The Sovereign Stone. I think that would be a fun one, but it's probably not popular enough. Most people have never heard of it. So that probably wouldn't work too well. I would love my personal. If I ever run for a monarch term, it will be on a Mongol horde theme. So it will be, I'm from Kentucky and we're in the northern part of our kingdom, right? So like the horse lords from the north are riding down and trying to conquer the southern king. Like I think anything that you can tie historical. I have fun with one superhero reign, but not 12. And so like, or one star, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but like I can only take so many Star Wars or Harry Potter ones. If you can give me a historical themed, hey, we're doing the burning of the Library of Alexandria. That's our theme. And where it's this big build up, throw me a bone, please. Give me some historical themes, please.
Awesome. Yeah. Can totally, we could totally do that. So the next question on here is because most of the time we're talking to Dragons fan players, so we're not going to ask this same exact question, but I don't want to break into why you're on yet. I want to hold off on that. Want to get through the questions and just before knighthood, hit them really hard with a surprise. That's how you get the viewers. Kind of.
Secrets. Revealing the secrets here.
Yes, secrets. Awesome. So Morgan would like to know, what is your favorite Amcard event?
I like Bridge Wars is my that yearly, it's in November, but mainly because I like the game, not necessarily because I like the event, but like the game is so much fun for me.
Okay.
Rising Winds March event is the one directly after that. And that is the most chill event of the year and is probably my favorite. It's always, I love cold weather events. If there's like snow on the ground or threat of snow on the ground, I really have fun because most of my garb is winter and furry. And like, I have a lot of fun. I can pull out my Mongol stuff and enjoy it. And so that event is super fun for me because it's the RP weekend. And if you're not there to RP, which for years I wasn't, it was the hang out with your friends and have a good time event. And a little bit of Amp-Guard happened, but so the hyper competitive event of Bridge Wars directly followed up by the leisurely hang out with your friend event of a winter event.
Love it.
Probably my best.
The best part of playing in the winter, well, for me, I shouldn't say the best, is it's a statement of fact, is sliding and either throwing a shot or throwing a spell ball while sliding feels good. So Kenjin wants you to build your own Amcard event. What does that look like?
Okay. I like this question. All right. Yeah. So things that I would have, it would have to include, I want food trucks. And I want a lot of vendors. Some of my favorite Dagger Hero events that I go to cater in feasts. I would do that as well. And I know a lot of the Flame Knights through feasts are like, but I like knowing, so you get food trucks so you can eat whenever you want. It brings the cost of gate down because you're not providing as many meals. If you're hungry, you can either bring stuff or get the food at the food trucks. Cater in a meal for feasts. That way it's warm, it's on time, and it tastes good and it's cooked well. I want a massive merchant row. I love Keep Merchant Row. I think that's one of the most fun that I've ever had at events is going and just walking from store to store to store and seeing what everybody's selling. I want a company-based game of some sort. So me and my boys can beat you and your boys, hopefully. I want Night Quest, even though I don't enjoy it. I want Night Quest because a lot of people enjoy. That's a big draw for a big portion of our game. And I would like some classes going on, whether it's fighting or ANS or leadership. I really enjoy like the old ALU ones. Just being able to go and sit and watch those panels was a lot of fun for me.
Absolutely.
So teaching aspects and kind of all that wrapped up. Oh, and no hoteling. Everyone should camp.
Yes, love it. Joshua, if you're hearing this now, yes, I do take questions from the audience. Almost definitely will make sure that it's timed incorrectly though. So just so you're aware, I may miss it for a minute. So Zancho would like to know, what do you want to accomplish in the next few years of your Amcard career?
Okay. So one of my mentors in the game is Sir Declan. He is a 3-belted knight, qualled for all 5 now. Hopefully those will be coming soon. Fingers crossed. He's the only person I know who has all 3 ANS masterhoods, Dragons, Garber, and Owl. I am working towards the other 2. I have Dragon. I think I'm sitting at like 6 or 7 in the other 2. I would love in the next 2 to 3 years to be able to get a second one of those and then start working towards the third. I want all 3 of the ANS masterhoods.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's awesome. Awesome goal to have. So Damon, I believe, asked this question originally. It's been a minute because we haven't had to ask because most kingdoms are back up and running. Dragon Spine is slowly shutting back down, though.
Gotcha.
Are you excited to be back playing in person?
Absolutely.
Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I've had online Amtgard went better than I thought it would. I think a lot of the kingdoms got together and did classes and did hangouts, and Amtgard as a whole fared better than I would have guessed it would have going into a shutdown. All of that being said, there's nothing like seeing my friends and hitting my friends. Like you can only do so many Discord nights that don't make up for that.
It's true. It's absolutely true. But man, did Dragonspine do a great job of getting their awards caught up. I had so much time as the king to look at my computer and be like, well, that doesn't make sense. Let's get this award out there. Anyways, not about me again, but let's keep pushing forward. We kind of already talked about your fighting company, but are you in any households?
I am in a couple.
Okay.
So technically the Weavers Guild of Amtgard is one of them. I guess that's technically, it's a huge house. I mean, it's a Facebook group more than anything, but that's technically a household. My belt line or like those underneath me, we have a household, House Grai. And then I'm in House Koinonia with Smiley, which is those of faith, a Christian faith household. So I think those are the only 3 that I'm in. I think so.
Yeah. So I talked to Smiley quite a bit.
One of my favorite Amtgarders. I love that guy.
Yeah, he made me shave my beard at one point. Whatever, no big deal. And he wanted to start a household. I think Kato's also in on it for like a superhero one. We'll reach out because it hasn't happened yet, Kato. Your mid-reign was forever ago, and you haven't done anything with it, but that's fine. Bud.
Somebody who has more households or is a part of more households than anybody in the game, go look at Smiley's wiki.
Yeah.
I mean, I swear that dude's a part of like 20 households.
It's kind of like how he treats his knighthoods now, right? Because he'll like squire and page under other people because he's like, oh, I'll collect everything. You can't stop me.
His 25 squires or whatever he's at now.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right. So Shroud Star had this question a long time ago. I love it. Shroud Star, if you're doing good, please reach out again. I don't know if you remember, or if you saw this during the episode, but they had a thunderstorm that came through and blew out the windows of their house during KOK. So like we had to cut KOK short, and the next episode, she had this question, or no, the previous episode, she had asked this question. I've asked it every week. Shroud Star, if you hear this, please tell us you're okay. But Godric, if you could create a letter award in Amtgard that doesn't already exist, what would it be for, and what would you call it?
So I would add, I'm not sure, probably the Order of the Scholar. And it would be under Serpent. One of the things that I enjoy the most about the SEA is the research side of the game, the stuff that I can do at home, the scholarly research, whatever you want to call it academia, and I don't whatever, something like that. But I really enjoy there isn't a place in Amtgard for me to research either historical, or even you could do like how elves have been portrayed in modern culture for over the last 30 years. That's, you could do a research project type of thing on that. Or you could do, how did English bows, how were they made in the 14th century? Like that's fascinating to me. And I love that type of stuff. And so I would love to have an award, because currently, I mean, you could kind of do that and it might fall under Dragon. Some people might put it under Smith because you're writing something and it's kind of like, it's weird. Right. And so I would like to have a formalized, here, if you're doing research of some kind, here's an award for that.
Okay.
Can I have a second one too?
Sure.
I want I don't know if you guys have Walker in the Middle out where you are. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
So I wish that we had a Walker in the Middle for our ANS judges as well. And I would call it the Order of the Gavel for our judges, ANS judges.
Okay.
And so just kind of the lifetime achievement. This is the thank you so much for judging all of our tournaments for all the years. It's kind of our best of the best of our judges for in the ANS world.
Nice. I like
Keeper
that.
of the scales or something with the judge type of thing. I think.
I mean, cool. the gavel, just calling someone the gavel
would be sick.
Oh, so good.
I'd wear that title proud.
Yeah. So, Josh, I'm going to answer your question when we get to a battle master question. Valance would like to know how many Squire Smiley has. I believe 25 isn't that far off.
I don't think it's quite 20, but it's more than 12. I want to say he's at like, when I did an interview with Smiley probably 6 months ago,
yes,
I want to say he was at like 15 or 18 or something.
Wait a minute, Godric, you do interviews? Hold on. Hold on. We're not there yet. You're breaking the streak. Spoilers, he does interviews. All right. This next question goes so well with Shroud Star's question. I try to keep the two together. If you could change one rule in Amtgard right now, what would it be and why?
Okay. I was ready for this one. Okay. I would, if you give me 100% control, we would have one knighthood and not 5.
Okay.
And coupled with that, I would bring the requirements for knighthood. I would bring to set a number arbitrarily 5 kingdom level awards of any ladder qualify you for knighthood. And then those masterhood can be one of those, but then it forces our people to go wide. One of the things that I really enjoy about most dagger here knightings and knight orders is they want you to be somewhat skilled in multiple different areas of the game. And I really appreciate that. The thing that it was described to me is if we pick you up and drop you in a new town with you're the only LARPer, can you successfully start a realm? And I like, you got to know a little bit on how to sew. You got to know a little bit on how to make weapons, or you got to know videos to direct people to.
So are you saying 5 distinctly different categories then?
No. So I am saying, define kingdom level as 8 and above if you want. Right.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
8th dragon, 9th dragon, 10th dragon.
Okay.
8th Garber, 8th lion. Something like that. Or 5, set any arbitrary number that everyone can agree on, but then make it to where knighthood, if you wanted to, you could be like 8th Garber, 8th Dragon, 8th Owl, 8th Crown, 8th, where masterhood isn't a requirement. It is simply one of the ways that you can get there. And so I think in doing that, masterhood becomes elevated because not every knight would be a master, which I think is really cool. We've talked for years and years and years. How do we make knighthood mean something other than just a stepping stone? On one hand, you're bringing the bar down because not all masters or not all knights have to be masters. But on the other hand, you're raising the bar because if you're not a master, you got to be really good at a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like you have to be kingdom worthy, 8th order, whatever whatever you set that at, 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever, but 8th, you have to be really good at a bunch of different things and multiple different pathways, right? So like if I couldn't just get an 8th in all 3 ANS ones and be a knight. I would have to do crown or in a rose, or I'd have to
get a 9th in those as well.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
And so elevating masterhood to 10, and then, or keeping it at 10, but then bringing knighthood to 8, but then requiring multiple high level kingdom awards to get.
I like that. If you don't submit that at the COM meeting next year or this year, it's 2022. We've done it. I'll be very sad.
All of that is coupled and centered around only one belt too. I can't stand that we have multiple belts in this game. I would rather just have one belt with a bunch of different masterhood stripes and call it done.
There's a discussion to be had here about whether 1 or 5 or 15 or 1,000 different kinds of belts are valid or not. But I'm interested to see what the Circle of Monarchs would say to it's a drastic change to what we have. I would be interested to see if you got enough votes to no, you don't think so? Okay.
I don't think, okay. How about this? I think we've seen just recently how difficult it is to change things like the Paladin, anti-Paladin, and how many votes it brought up, and how many literal decades worth of work that took to be able to do something centered around knighthood. And in my opinion, Paladin, anti-Paladin is the least important thing about knighthood. and it took that long to change. And
Sure.
so I feel changing something structurally with how knights are awarded, I think it would be very, very difficult to pass. What is it? 80%, 90% of the COK stuff or CON stuff.
If there was someone who was able to use a silver tongue to get that taken care of, maybe someone who interviews people could do that.
Potentially.
Okay.
See, you're spilling my secrets now. You gotta poison the well through interviews and through ALU, and like you gotta get the information out there for a couple of years and then bring it up. You can't just bring it all up at one time, because then it just gets voted down and it never sees the light of day again.
That's fair. You're absolutely right.
I disseminate that info, man.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. Would like to know if you could give us 5 up and comers that you want to just be like, hey, keep an eye out for these peeps.
So I've got 2 squires that I will obligatorily, I am obliged to throw here, but really I would. I've got Squire Madness. He was my first underbelt that I picked up as a man-at-arms and has traveled with me through the ranks, as it were. And the dude has now passed me in my warrior skill. I no longer have anything else to teach him in the orders of the warrior, as it were. And so my job now is getting him to the people who can. And so like we traveled down to Knoxville to fight with the guys from the Whack podcast and Gillen and some of the warlords there. And so I think he is on the verge of being a really, really good fighter. So so him there. My other Squire Haliax, he is an awesome leather worker and armor smith. So his owls, he got up to like 8 owls, and then he kind of started doing rose stuff, and now he's up to like 8 roses. And then Battle Master came out, and now he's up to 8 Battle Masters. So nice. He's a multi-talented dude who's just one of the nicest people that I've ever met. So I'd throw them in there. And then define up and comer?
So I love it when people ask that. So we've had up and comer be defined as time in game. We've had up and comer defined as orders of the awards that are super low. We've had up and comers as people that are that maybe have been playing for a long time, but they've found a path, and it's kind of up to you. What do you consider an up and comer?
Gotcha. Kodiak, how long have you been playing the game?
4 years in 2 days.
So I'm going to call you an up and comer, because I think 5 years makes a vet. So I'll throw the Grand Duke title in the background there. I think for a up and comer is a pretty good sign of things to come. I joke with my squires quite a bit that, we always hear, and I don't know how true it is, but we hear the term of every 3 years Amtgard generations cycle out. And so if you can make it to like 5 to 6 years, essentially at that point, you are a vet and you have made it through 2 generations of Amtgarders. So anyone under that, I count as a new player still.
Okay.
So there's 3. I would throw, okay. I'm going to throw Corin Grai in here. Up and comer in that hasn't been playing for too terribly long and has started to work his way up through for weaving, sitting at 9 owls right now, and is so up there in the awards, but not necessarily like a household name in the weaving stuff. Well, in the weaving world he is, but in the larger game, there was the Wetlands hosted a tournament where people, kind of a white elephant type of thing, where if you made a belt for somebody, you get a belt from somebody, and it was a competition. Really fun. And I entered, and he entered, and quite a few other good belt makers entered, and he beat me this past one. And so I was very proud of him. And so I think for Corin Grai out of Crystal Groves is going to be a name, especially in my niche, an up and coming name.
Okay. All right, so you got one more for me.
I got one more. We've got a player who plays at the park north of me. His name is Sin Infernal, and Sin is a military guy, and Sin is, because of that, not incredibly active all the time. But when he is active, he is one of the most gung-ho people I've ever met. His 3rd week of Amtgard, he traveled from Kentucky to Illinois for Keep on the Borderland. He went to park like once or twice, loved it, and traveled up, and has been there ever since. And he's got a very high ceiling on his martial abilities. And I think he in time will be a really good, in the Midwest, will be a very good up and coming fighter in that area.
I have to I thank you for giving us an awesome list, but to be part of a list of that you speak so highly of, that's fantastic. You've known me for what, 2 hours now, maybe?
I'm a sucker though I'm a sucker for content creators in our game. Like if you on spoiler on one of the questions I always ask in my show is, if you could make a Mount Rushmore of your masterhood, who would you put on it for whatever it is?
Oh, okay.
And my list is almost always clouded by the content creators. I love Anatole. I love your show, the Whack Guys, Tato, Delos, like the people who are putting content out there to our game have a special place in my heart. And because it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, but with Goldcrest and ALU, I learned more from ALU than I think Goldcrest even understands or can fathom how much of a resource that has been for so many people. And so that you with your show and getting that information out is clouding my judgment probably a little too much, but it's all right.
A little too much. Wow. Okay. Way to slap me back down to reality. I appreciate that. Okay. So Josh's question was, tell us a great moment in battle gaming, and then also what would it take to reenact or have that happen again? Josh, if that's not the right question, let me know.
Okay. So I remember the first Bridge Wars that I won, that my fighting company won. I was a pledge to our fighting company, and we were running low on people. So I got elevated to the A team, which was blew my mind. I was like, man, there's no way that I should be on the A team, and because we have 2 to 3 teams depending on who else shows up. And on the other side of that field was Sir Raven and Sir Ash, who are both incredibly, incredibly good battle gamers. And we were playing in this Bridge Wars game, my first one that I had competed with a real team on. And there was a 150 life count for both teams. And at the end of it, I think my team won with 75 or 80 lives left. It was in the finals, and you fight 3 or 4, it's a bracket to get up there.
Yeah.
And I remember as getting compliments from the knights that I respected on the other team, who are like, hey, you did really good today. And even though they just lost, and I know how people can be upset, especially in competitive environments, it meant the world to me as a newer player, and, got elevated to the A team in the big boy league, to have these guys come up and say, hey, you did a good job. And so for me, that was an incredibly special moment. And then how do we recreate that? I think as the veteran players, we need to go out of our way to tell not just our friends on the other team, or not just the people on our park on the other team. Just if you see someone doing something really cool, go tell them. I mean, it takes 3 seconds out of your day, and that kid's going to go back to his camp and be like, sir, so-and-so told me that this was and you just made their event. And that takes no effort on your part. And I'm still talking, that was 2016, and I'm still talking about it. That's awesome. What I mean? So
yeah. Cool. So I'm going to ask you your thoughts on Battle Knights now, okay, and then we're going to be really close to knighthood, but we have more questions to ask before then.
Cool.
So Godric, what's your thoughts on Battle Knight?
It is long overdue.
Okay.
I think it is something that bewildered my brain for years and years and years, that the biggest part of our rulebook didn't have a knighthood to represent it. I am incredibly, incredibly happy that it exists. I wish that it were under sword, but I am okay with it being a 5th. I want them all to be 1. So fewer belts is better in my mind. Mm-hmm. But I think, and my reason, I'll just give short synopsis for that. I think battle and sword are more closely related than serpent and owl are, or dragon and owl are, and some of the other, or smith and rose, or mm-hmm. I think it is close enough to each other as it is to what the other belts are. And so I feel like we just kind of conceded this because we didn't want to fight it. We didn't want to push the warlords too hard. They're letting us have the battle belt. We don't want to put a silver trim on it. We're already asking for a whole lot. That's kind of how I felt about the 5th belt.
Sure.
That being said, I love it. I'm glad it's here.
I think what's going to happen, this starts to come up almost every episode now. We're going to expand so far that going to one belt's going to be the only option. All right, we have all these. We can just make a trim for the different styles of belts, or we can put a symbol for each style of belt or whatever. But just having one knighthood is ultimately what it looks like it's going to. And in that sense, that's why I agreed with you earlier, because I think we're going to get so spread out that the next decision is going to be like, well, let's just make one knighthood, but have all the paths be separate, you know?
Well, it's crazy to me that, so like the way I view masterhood and knighthood, and sorry if I'm jumping your questions.
No, go ahead.
Masterhood is about me. Masterhood is my skill. Am I good enough? Did I wow enough people? Is what I am doing good enough? Knighthood is not that. Knighthood is, am I helping the game grow? Am I helping other people have fun? And so for me when we say, okay, you're a master now, this is all about you. You're giving that up now to be, I'm not giving that up, but like you are adding the responsibility of of other people's fun is now your responsibility.
Sure.
The first thing we do is split you back out into the competitive things that are all about you. Right? The first thing we do is you get the silver trim that says you're now better, not only in skill, but in moral character of everybody else in the room now. Like, come on now. Like it's not compatible in my mind to say that knighthood is about the character and the uplifting of other players and growing our game, being the face of our game, however people want to describe it, and then instantly break it back out into personal accolades on what color belt trim I have.
And I mean, we are going to jump because, again, I have a couple questions left, but is it safe to say that there are players that will achieve a masterhood that should never be knighted? I mean, that's a fair assumption, right? Like,
it should happen more than it does.
Right. We shouldn't continue to live in this realm of thought where, well, they're mastered. Let's talk about their knighting and be like, well, they're not really a great person. Well, yeah, but they've got their master. They've got their box tops, and it's like, well, okay, let them be a master. You know, we need good people. And
I said my masterhood, I guess. Let me move. My masterhood scroll meant significantly more to me than my knight scroll. I don't know if you could hear that on my mic. The masterhood for me was my award. That was saying my skill. I earned this. Godric, you are good at what you are doing. The knighthood scroll is, hey, Godric, we want you to be the face of the game to help new players, to let other people grow and have fun. That one's not about me. That one is. And there's nothing wrong with someone saying, I'm really good at what I do, but I don't want to spend my time or my events or my fun for the sake of other people's fun. That's completely fine.
That's actually the very interesting part that we very rarely talk about when it comes to knighthood, right? You don't have to say yes if that's not what you want. Dragonspine, and anyone who's watching this from Dragonspine, there's one player that technically plays for Dragonspine that has said, I do not wish to go any farther than masterhood. Please do not give me any, even recommend me for knighthood. That's fantastic.
I had a friend of mine in my fighting company at my vigil. We did a digital Discord vigil. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He told me, he goes, he's a warlord now, and he was working his way up. He wasn't a warlord yet. He goes, Godric, do not let them vote on me in the COK. I don't want it. And I said, I will hold you to that. If that changes, tell me. Right. But until you say otherwise, and he just doesn't want to be a knight. He knows he is not the face that a new player needs to see. He knows that won't, we all have those experiences of bad nights, and he's a great dude. But he doesn't want to spend the mental energy to help new players have fun all the time. And that's that's a lot of what you're doing when you put that white belt on. And so I applaud that. We need more of that. That I understand that's not my skill set, or I don't want to put that amount of energy or effort into it. And hang out on your masterhood, man. Like you're a master. You're the top 0.5% of our game or whatever it is. Sick. That's cool. Yeah. I love it.
I love it. I wish more award ceremonies ended like that. Congratulations, you're a master crown. Sick. Nice. I love it. Good stuff. All right. We've hinted at it. we've addressed it. We've said it out loud. You've mentioned a question that you ask. You have your own show, and that's what brought us here today.
Correct.
Is that spoilers? Godric and I are exchanging comings on shows and whatnot.
Collaborating.
Collaborating.
We gotta use the Zoomer YouTube language, man. We're collaborating.
I'm almost 40. I don't. Tell us about the archives.
Yeah. So I started putting YouTube videos up years and years ago that were just video tutorials on woven belt stuff. When I figured something out, because when I started, the only videos that I found were from the early aughts, late 90s, early aughts, and they were grainy and they were terrible. And I spent so much time trying to figure out what they were trying to teach me that when I figured it out, I wanted to make a video. And so I started just, hey, here I had my wife hold the camera phone, and it's shaky and it's awful, but it taught people what I was learning. I was trying to transfer that to others. And that eventually led to better equipment and better camera and more production. And then started making videos on other things other than just LARP. So like what fabric should I wear for LARPing? Because that's quite a new player. If you have no idea what's the difference between cotton and linen, or what's the difference between duck canvas and yada, yada. So I branched into that. And then I'm a big League of Legends fan, and I love the shoulder content that the different podcasts that are put out by like Travis Gafford and Thorin and some of those guys. And I, as a consumer, really enjoy long form content. And at the time, there wasn't that much. Anatole was doing his, but that was once a month. The Whack podcast was just starting up when I was starting to think about all of this. I was vaguely aware of your show, I think, but I'm on the other side of the country. So like it, and I was like, I want to make the type of content for this game that I would enjoy watching. And I loved ALU long form. I love Anatole's long form. So I sat down and I'm going to make AmpGuard long form content. And so mine is a interview series similar to this, but more, I am a more serious person in general. So I don't have the fun, lively bear questions in mind, which probably is keep your viewers more entertained than my monologuing most of the time. But I think it's been really fun. It's called The Archive is the name of the podcast, the show. Godric Grai is the YouTube channel. I kind of throw up I do like vlogs when I go to events. We do put up our 1 to 10 fights on there too. I do my belt videos. I kind of just throw all of my LARP related content on there.
It's if you haven't already checked it out because you're aware of Godric's content, go to it. Like I said, I was telling you off camera, I started re-listening to some of the episodes because I just wanted to know what I was going to be in for a little bit, but also I also love hearing people's stories of AmpGuard. It's super good. And, I would love to see, given the names you mentioned, the Whack podcast, Anatole, yourself and me, let's see if we can all get to an event. And let's do the 5 of us doing either we're doing a Q&A to someone or we're getting a Q&A, but the effort's been there. Like I started KOK during COVID.
Same.
So
that's what I started doing mine too.
Yeah. So Dragon Spine had something to do outside of go to Discord. Like you can listen to me talk to someone for an hour and a half, whatever. For Valance, it was 3 hours because Valance wanted to show me every weapon he made. I love you, big guy, but you did. We'll talk about that. I think there's an idea there.
Well, I know the Whack podcast guys, they have a mobile setup. I've chatted with them. And so if we could pick a Keep, a Rackus, something where all of us, whether it's a Q&A panel, like an ALU panel, I think that would be fun on how do you create, and should get Hogman on there too. His stuff that he does on TikTok is nuts to me. Like that's not, my videos are an hour long. His videos are 20 seconds long. And I think his videos are significantly harder to make than mine. Just because like the content that you do to engage people on TikTok is so different from a long form podcast.
Absolutely. And
so getting him on there too, and whether it's how do I get into AmpGuard or how do I get into AmpGuard content creation, or how can my park use I had one of my recent episodes, I had Riley Harden on, and he is a digital, what's his official title? He's a Facebook media marketing agent, I think is his official title. He is in no way related to Amtgard other than he's fought with me a couple of times. And sat down with him and did what does social media look like for small groups like ours? What does social media look like and video content look like for your park or your kingdom? And then we actually went on in the video, and he has a ton of great tips, but then we went and did like a social media audit where I pulled up Amtgard and Dagger here, Bellegarde, SCA, and all their social medias and what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. I think stuff like that, those type of resources could be really, really fun to do.
I love it. Yeah, we should start a conversation with the WAC guys and see what they're interested in, see if Hogman, and if we can find an event, that would be so cool. And live, I know from doing a KOK that people love live.
Especially when they can interact.
Yep. Valance is in the chat, like giving me paragraphs of information right now. I love you, big guy. All right. So that's the archives. Go check it out because eventually Kodiak's going to be on it. We haven't nailed down a date yet, but
we're going to try and film it soon. We'll get it
later. And then I'll share, obviously, because I like people hearing me have to say things. So but as we're transitioning into the knighthood questions, and then we get to the toughest questions after knighthood, we're almost there. We're almost halfway there. Whoa. Kyle Bates would like to know, who do you look up to most in the game?
One of the more difficult questions, because there's so many people. One of the knights out in your direction, I'm not sure who, I don't think I've ever met them, but she had like 9 or 7 knights or something like that represented. And she had one knight who she was underbelted to, but on her belt, she had like a different color for each of the people that were an influence in her path. And it was like 6, 7 people. That's kind of how I am with this question. There's so many. Sir Declan, who is the one I was talking about, who's qualled for all 5, currently has 3, has master hoods, and he's one of my best friends and has taught me in the ANS world everything that I know other than my belt. He knows nothing about weaving, but as far as like I'm getting into garbing and I'm getting into some of the other stuff, and he's helped me a lot with that. Okay. Sir Navrin was my knight, flame knight, taught me. I'm a very hot-headed and very opinionated person, and he taught me a lot of when to be opinionated and what hills are worth fighting on and which ones aren't. And that was a very needed skill set that I just didn't have in our game. And so I don't think I would be the person I am without his influence.
Sure.
So those 2 are up there. Goldcrest with ALU is huge. Never met the guy, probably never will, but the influence of at least the content that he curated is huge on who I am. So those would probably be my top 3.
Awesome. That's great names. And we keep coming back to Goldcrest. If he ever watched this video, it randomly show up to a thing so I can drop my jaw one more time. Because my roommate was at White Sands with us during Azrael Jade's 3rd knighting. And it was when I realized that Goldcrest was there and like almost knocked him over with like patting him to get his attention. And yeah, just I don't know how that name is not everywhere for everyone all the time.
It should be. Yeah, it should be.
It should be.
Granted, I try to hold judgment on people I haven't met in person. So I will say from the content that I have seen on YouTube, he seems like a great dude and is one that has been incredibly influential on the way I think about our game.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if a fellow content creator's word means anything, I've met him in person. Is just a solid. Some of my closest friends down here were his friends when he was here, and they would vouch for him over and over again. Just a great guy. There's a reason why Amtgard has the gold standard, and that's it's Goldcrest. Anyways, that will bring us to knighthood. We're finally here. The second reason that you were brought on here on KOK is also a Knight of the Serpent through macrame.
Correct.
So, baller that you are, let's ask you some questions about knighthood. Let's start off with a simple one. How long have you been a knight?
A little over a year. I was knighted last December during COVID.
During COVID?
Yeah, a little bit over a year.
Okay. And as a knight, well, maybe given your opinion you've given so far, maybe as a master, what do you teach? What are you giving out to the community?
I try. How about that? I know a lot of warlords feel the desire or the responsibility to enter tournaments or reeve tournaments wherever they are at. Mm-hmm. I kind of take that as well. If I am not entering a tournament, I'm going to judge a tournament if I can make it there. Just because that is my favorite aspect of the game. And so if I can help other people enjoy that aspect as well, I want to. And so, like, for instance, we have one coming up in February, and I messaged the person running it, and I said, hey, would you rather me judge or would you rather me enter and hype it up? Because I can come in and be like, all right, who's going to try and beat me this time? And like, that's people get into that, and he goes, I need a judge. I'm like, cool, I'll judge. I'll be there. And so judging is a big one. I really enjoy making my weaving videos. Those are they're fun. It's something that I love. And I don't know if I said this before the show started, but so I'll say it again. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. My favorite thing that's ever happened to me in Amp is, especially at like Keep, when I have people from all over the country who I've never met run up to me and like show me their belt and say, hey, I made this thing of your video, or they send me a message and I help. They're like, hey, this is going wrong. And I walk them through it. And they send me pictures of them wearing it with the biggest smile on their face.
Nice.
Teaching people to make stuff is fun. Like it's a rewarding thing in itself. And then now I've been investing in other people to do my craft. And now we've got another master and then someone who's about to be another master. So there's 3 of us now. That forces me to get better. I can't be like, I'm not content to just be the first master in my craft. I'm going to be the best. You know what I mean? And so when Corin beat me in this last tournament, I got to beat him now. Right. And I might ship stuff out to his kingdom to show him that I can beat him. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. And so that it's been fun to teach people and then see them love and find enjoyment in the same things I do. That's fantastic. A ton of fun.
Okay. I love it. So let's get your opinions on that white belt. What does it take to be a knight, in your opinion?
It takes a willingness to set your fun aside and put the fun of others, especially new players, before your own fun. And that's not all the time, right? When I'm at my company camp, and I'm hanging out with my buddies, and the day is done, and like, yeah, the belt is still on, but there's a difference between that and if I'm at park or if I'm on the field. I would much rather enter that ANS tournament. I am not a fan. I don't enjoy judging the way Amp does judging, and I guess LARP in general. It takes so long, right? We do Kingdom of the Winter's Edge. We do our Weapon Master, Dragon Masters on the Saturdays of our events. And so my entire Saturday from 10 to court is judging ANS. And that sucks. But my job is to facilitate the fun of other people. And I really, really enjoy ANS tournaments, and I know other people do. And so that's my area of expertise. That's how I can do it. And I generally will enter a tournament, judge a tournament, take a tournament off, enter a tournament. That's kind of my cycle. Okay. I try to enter, because another side tangent here. I hate that we get masters and ANS, or people get masterhood and then they never enter again. It's like, oh, I got it, I'm done. I had won 3 kingdom level tournaments before I competed against another master. And I wasn't a master at that point. But like before I had beat anybody good, I had won 3 kingdom level tournaments. That shouldn't be the case. I take my responsibility and more of a master, not as a knight, but as a master, to provide the opportunity for other people to beat me. I don't think they will. Right. But like, I'm going to provide them the opportunity to, because if they can beat me, that's huge. Like, not only for their award track, they beat a competitive, like a current master, but then their confidence, they're going to be so happy about that, like they're just going to enjoy that so much. And so that I think what it takes is being consistent, being active, and being willing to put other people's enjoyment over your own enjoyment in a healthy way. That can go too far, but in a healthy way.
Yeah. And Valance is echoing that sentiment. It's consistency in the judging, consistency as a knight, as a master. Consistency is something that we just need to have in Amtgard.
What's it take to be a good knight? It's to show up. I can't tell you how many good knights I've seen that just don't show up anymore. And like, for me, consistency and activity. And I'm not saying you got to be at park every week, right? That's for a lot of people an unreasonable standard. But if you're a knight and I don't see you for 3 years, and then you just come in to vote against somebody on a COK, I lose an immense amount of respect for you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I couldn't imagine that. Someone disappearing and just coming back because they want to have their voice heard. It's like, you got to play. You got to earn the right. You got to earn the right for your voice to still mean something. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've talked about what makes a knight. We talked about what makes a good knight. We've already talked about the knights that you admire. Mm-hmm. You've pointed out very early on in this chat that you wanted to play, cleric, but you opened paladin before we gave paladin to everyone. But are you more of a paladin or an anti-paladin?
Paladin.
Okay.
I would like to think so. I don't think I'm going to take Michael Hammer of God's lead here, and I will max every class but anti-paladin.
Yeah. I'm still not going to play paladin and anti-paladin. Like that's the stance I had to take once we opened it. Was like, okay, well, for me, I didn't want to have it as an option because I wanted it to be something that I earned. Well,
that's fair.
I could just make a self-correction and be like, I haven't earned it yet. So
it's like the guys, the warlords, when they show up at a park day and they're like, I need to fight left-handed today. Yeah. You are specifically putting a challenge on yourself that makes it more meaningful when you can actually use it.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree. So has your opinion of knighthood changed since you've been belted?
A little bit. It's changed because I don't know how your kingdom works, but both of the kingdoms I've been a part of have a knights group on Facebook. And I always just assumed that group was significantly more active than what it is, right? Like, I thought that, everyone thinks it's like, we're going to talk about you in the knight circle. Like, it's not like I got on in an evening, went through my circle of knights group chat or the posts on the group page for 15 years. Like, there's just not much. And so this idea, now granted, what happens in person is a little different, but the idea that the knights every evening are sitting down and discussing the people in the kingdom or trying to block you from coming up or are like, nah. Like it just the kingdom that I played in for the majority of my Amtgard career is Rising Winds, which is a huge kingdom. And we have people getting their master hoods who I go, wait, who is that? And that's not to say, like, that's just how large the kingdom is. Sure. And so, and I was at every event, I was entering tournaments, like I'm a fairly active player. And if I don't know who you are, that's not a bad thing on you necessarily. That's just how large the kingdom is. So let alone the people at 5, like, and I don't mean that to sound derogatory or whatever, but like, the knights are keeping me from getting 5 to 6. No, they're not, bro. I promise you, they're not.
They're not. That's just not happening. Yeah. No, I mean, knighthood is one of my favorite topics. Dragonspine is probably well aware of that and sick of hearing me talk about it. But I go to the knights all the time and talk about like what they're looking for, who they're looking for. As the king, I had made suggestions to the Circle of Knights and wanted to hear their feedback. It's not the shadow that we're going to talk about the shadow government when we get to the funny questions, because conspiracy theory wise, that's the best one for Amtgard, right? But it's just not that way. It's if there's a personal vendetta against someone and the person's on the Circle of Knights, it may happen, but it's apparent. There's no shadow government. There's just not. I'm sorry. One of
the things that have changed my mind since I have become a knight is seeing people not willing to no vote their friends. That is something I didn't expect. Not even their friend. Like, I have seen people who everybody else on the circle is like, hey man, this guy should not be a knight. Like, here are all the reasons for it. And this person just, it's their bro, even though they know that their bro isn't going to pass an overall vote, they're still going to throw a yes vote to them.
Yep.
It's kind of goes back to the earlier question. What's it take to be a good knight? It's willing to tell your friends that they're not good enough and be willing to have that conversation. Cause that's a huge part of it is if you are not willing to look your best friend in the face and say, you are either not skilled enough or you don't have the qualities that we want our knights to have. If you can't have that discussion and then no vote them, you shouldn't be a knight.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Dragonspine has a history of couples not voting at all, not bringing their partner even to the Circle of Knights to even be considered for a belt. So there was a chunk of time where there were people who deserved belts that were missed because the person that we would have suspected to speak up for them, as an outside observer, of course, I'm not in the Circle of Knights.
Are your circles not open?
To the public? No, they're not.
Okay. That's Rising Winds were complete. I remember my knight and Declan, who is my pseudo knight, my second, I've got two knights. I always joke. I had about 7 or 8 and they had me start coming to the public meetings. And so you can't be in the Facebook group, obviously, but like, as far as the Circle of Knights meetings that are happening at events in the Rising Winds, they're open. And I really enjoyed that because that started to open my eyes that these knights aren't these big giant monoliths of we're going to no vote you unless, like, it was cool just to sit in and they would acknowledge you. And they're like, oh, hey, cool. And of course they ask you to leave if they're talking about you specifically. Yeah. But like the idea of a closed circle to me doesn't make sense. Like if you're not willing to say, again, if you're not willing to tell that person they're not good enough, you don't need to be voting. And if you're not willing to say that to their face afterwards or while they're there, you shouldn't be voting. Yeah. You should just abstain.
Yeah. So, and one of the things talking to the guild master of the circle is that they do provide feedback. But being that it's closed, you do get players that are like, well, no, you're just blocking me. And that's, the conspiracy theory is built from there. Well,
and it only takes one instance of a fighting company in your kingdom blocking another fighting company's knight to then that is going to be set in the history of your kingdom. And every time someone doesn't get knighted, they're going to suspect that it was for nefarious stuff. Yeah. And most of our older kingdoms have had that at one point in their history, whether it was 20, 30, 40 years, not 40, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I think having open circles helps alleviate a lot of that. And if someone's coming up and like that person who is getting talked about or getting brought up isn't comfortable with the populace hearing it, I could see maybe dismissing the populace. But like, I like the open knight circle just because it alleviates a lot of what people think about the shadow government of the Circle of Knights.
Sure.
I can sit in and listen to it.
Yeah. As a member of Dragonspine's board of directors, we had that almost that same thing thrown at us where it's like, oh, your shadow government's like, ours are open. Any member of the populace can come listen to the board of directors talk about. And
we invite you to, please come.
Yeah, right. It's just like we had populace members who were like, well, we want invites. We want you to put posts up. And it's like, okay, we can do that. But we've never had more than 2 people that were in the populace show up to these things. So like putting up posts just seems like it's eating everyone's airwaves and like whatever, but that sounds like a great idea. I just don't know if that'll be something that Dragonspine does.
I feel like a lot of the older kingdoms are closed, and I feel like a lot of the newer kingdoms are open. And that's one of the interesting. I love the old kingdom versus new kingdom differences and talks. Like those are just fascinating to me. In my very limited scope of the kingdoms I've played in, it's funny the through lines that you can draw from. You just tell me the characteristics of your kingdom, and I'll tell you how old it is. Type of thing. You know what I mean? Good or bad.
Yeah, it's almost like the books where, oh, should I put on pants today? Yes or no kind of thing, where it's like, does your kingdom have a closed COK? Yes. Okay, you're over here.
A static crown.
Is it a static crown? Yes. Okay, you're the Burning Lands.
Do you have a god awful pink color in your heraldry? You're the Burning Lands.
Oh man. Oh, Tristan gave me a little bit of flack the last time I put up the Burning Lands heraldry on KOK, because he's like, that's the old one. I'm like, well, yeah, but I still like using it. Okay. Last question before we get to the most difficult of questions. We call them the funny questions. Tell us about your belt line. You've mentioned some of the people and players in it, but lay it out for us.
Yeah. So the fount of my belt line is a guy named Sir Glavis. He was a Crown and Flame Knight. He was my Knight's Knight. So I'm a third generation Knight. He's retired in Florida now. And then I've got my Knight, Sir Nabrin, who is a Flame Knight and he's got Battle Master. He'll get knighted eventually for that. One of the best battle gamers I've ever met. And then me. And then I've got 2 squires underneath me. And I set and I know a lot of people don't do it this way, which is fine. That's one of the things I love about belt lines is that they can be, for each knight, can set them up differently for what works for them and their group. I have a very strict, if I pick someone up, your orders that you have equates to what color belt you wear underneath me. Nice. And it provides, and at least for me, it did. And I know, and the people I pick up, if they don't want to participate in that system and they just want to be a page, cool. You could be a page. You don't got to do all the other stuff. But for instance, page for me is 1 to 3. Man at arms or woman at arms is 4, 5, and 6. Yep. Squire is 7 and above.
I love it.
And so I've got a man at arms underneath me right now, and my squire has a page, I have a page and my squire has a page as well. And they're competing with each other to see who can get to third order of whatever, the fourth order of whatever first, so who's going to become the next man at arms first. And so you've got that kind of internal stair steps, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we structure our line. I also set mine up to my squires take their own underbelts because I feel it is incredibly important. Probably even more important than my mentorship to them is them learning how to be a mentor. And so their underbelts are expected to go with them when they get knighted. So my squire has a page, eventually probably a man at arms. And then when my squire elevates, that person elevates with them, and whether they go to squire or not, that's up to them, to my squire. But that idea of there is a part of the belt line relationship that is a teaching one, where I am doing my best to help you achieve your goals, but you also need to be doing the same thing with other people. Yep. Because I think that's one of the key parts of what knighthood is about, is helping other people achieve their goals in the game. And so that's a learned skill for some. That's not a natural thing that comes for everybody. So I try to, oh, my camera went all weird. Sorry. I try to systematize that a little bit. And I know some people are like, no, that's way too much paper. That's way too many words on the paper for me. And I get that. And I fully respect the knights that do it differently. But that's just, for me and mine, that's kind of how we do it.
I absolutely love that. I have no one I'm belted to, so having a tradition like that, if and when that ever happens for me, that sounds fantastic. Being like, yeah, no, it's based around orders. If you want to succeed, you will be a squire. If you like being what you are, you don't have to move, whatever. I'm also not artisan, so making equipment for you to escalate is a problem. I'm just not gonna be able to do it.
Well, and one of the things too that's kind of, and I talked to Smiley about this quite a bit before. So one of my squires is pursuing a sword path, and he is already better than me. And so how do we as knights help the people that are in different paths than us is an interesting one. Cause I'm solid in Serpent. I'm pretty good. I feel like I can teach that. I've got 8 crowns. I was Kingdom Regent. I'm pretty comfortable in that sphere as well. Flame, not as much. A lot of my mundane career is people managing. And so when I come to Amtgard, my goal isn't to people manage most of the time. It's to have fun. And so I guess I can do Flame, but I haven't proven that I can do it, if that makes sense. And then Sword, I'm not I'm a 5th warrior, and that's a generous 5th. And Battle Master, I'm probably around there too. And so how do we teach our underbelts in areas that aren't our specialty has been something I've been working through as a knight whose squire is better than him at something already. What can I do with that? And my answer has been travel. I'm gonna coordinate with him to get with the people that he can. I'm gonna, hey, we're doing this weekend. Come on, I'm gonna put him in front of the people that he needs to be in front of, and then help facilitate that. I think that's important. Yep.
I agree. So Valance has mentioned that Golden Plains has been open for about 5 years as far as the COK goes, and everyone's available to sit and whatnot. So there's another kingdom that is also
that's an old kingdom
completely.
Too.
That's an old kingdom.
Man, they're breaking the book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if do you have open COK? Yes. Is it more than 5 years old? No. Okay. So you could be Golden Plains. Okay. All right. That's fair. All right, Godric, let's get to the toughest questions. We call them the funny ones. Let's get started with the still hat question. Who's the coolest dog you've ever met?
Ooh, coolest dog I have ever met is my pit bull that I currently have. Her name is Cricket. She was a rescue dog. We got at 5 and is hands down the best trained dog I've ever had in my life, and just absolutely adore this dog. Cricket.
Okay. All right. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Ooh, I like the ones with the club tails. I always thought that they were cool because I don't know what they're called, but in the cartoons we watched as a kid, right? You've got the big old T-Rex, and then you've got this guy with the turtle shell and the giant club tail that just beats the crud out of the T-Rexes.
So would that be the Stegosaurus or are you talking about the one with the spikes on the side of the turtle shell with the? Okay, I don't know
that one, and it's 4-legged, and it's got all the spikes here, and then it's got the long tail with just the club on the thing, and they would smash the T-Rexes upside the face.
Why do we always forget that name?
I know.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not my normal vocab.
Right. Fair enough. Still, I would like to know, what's the best kind of dragon?
Is it copper? Is copper the one that I always get copper and bronze confused. But I like the ones they're good dragons, but they are the travelers. And they're the ones that will turn into humans and then travel with people quite a bit and make sure that they get places safely.
I think that's copper. I'm playing a bronze dragonborn right now, and I don't remember that being in the lore. So
is that copper? I think that one might be. Is that the one that's more like charisma bardic type of base?
The bronze one is the curious one that wants to learn and wants to understand stuff. And
cool. Good dragon that's not silver or gold. How about that? Whatever. I like those other 3 that I always get missed out on.
Okay. Valance is here giving us answers. Ankylosaurus.
There it is.
There it is. Okay. Favorite fictional knight.
So I'm blanking on his name right now, but they're in the Sovereign Stone series that I mentioned earlier. They have different elements for different races. And so the humans are earth, the elves are air, and the elves in that world are actually like a samurai, very honor-bound culture. The orcs are water, and they're pirates. And then you have the dwarves, which are flame, and they're the Mongol nomads. And there is one particular dwarf, they call them the unhorsed. If you get injured and can't ride a horse anymore, you get left behind. And he became the first knight of the stone for his race. And he was, didn't have a full leg, couldn't really, but he was a book smart guy who then became just this awesome BA knight in the Sovereign Stone. And I'm blanking on his name, but I really like him.
Well, Valance may come through and just give me the name.
Yeah.
That's how he's been handling it so far. Zachary would like to know, what's the best fictional or non-fictional sword name?
I feel like it's got to be one of like the most cringy, like those emo ones where it's like Bane Slayer or whatever. I like those. Okay. I like those ones.
All right. Godric, do you play Magic the Gathering?
I did for a long time. And then I sold my collection to buy my wife's wedding ring and have not reapplied the addiction since. So,
so what were your colors?
I was a dirty blue mill player.
I love it. We could be best friends.
I love mill decks. If I wasn't playing, I had 2 extremes. I had mill decks, and then I had like burn goblin decks. Those were like the very fast red decks, or the mill 'em to death blue, and sometimes blue black, depending on the set.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's Mill, yes, for the win.
Cultured.
Uh Godric, what's your favorite color?
I like orange. Orange is my favorite color.
Hey yo!
I like orange, orange and blue are my favorites.
Oh, you can hang out. Like we can. Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. This question is self-serving, so I'm going to ask it and be really happy about it. You've been tested on this. This was on the quiz. You have to remember it. Is Kodiak more of a Jedi or a Sith?
Gray Jedi.
Yes, he is. Attaboy. There we go. Do you play Dungeons and Dragons?
I do.
What's your favorite build?
I really enjoy the range sneak attack rogue builds. I love 3/5 skill monkey with all the skill points. I feel like that got lost in later editions. But I love the very skill heavy, know everything type of rogue or bard. But then if for the martial stuff, I like the range sneak attack, especially if you can do like the halfling whisper knife builds where like you get all the returning boomerang stuff and you're like sneak attacking on. That's super fun for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay. Some of my favorite questions on all of KOK are coming right now. Who would play you in a live action Amtgard movie?
Oh man. I like, what is Zachary Levi? I think Zachary Levi, if he grew a beard, could play me pretty well.
Okay. And when Zachary Levi comes on the screen as Godric Grai, what is the theme song?
Let's see. Probably it's got to be something heavy. Probably Devastator by For Today. It's my favorite band and one of my favorite songs. So
okay. All right. We're in a different universe now. Okay. Everyone has a superpower. What's your superpower?
Teleportation.
Love it. Love it. Okay.
I'm super impatient.
Still, I would like to know what's your favorite conspiracy and what's your favorite Amtgard conspiracy?
Okay. My favorite conspiracy is Atlantis. I love all the people who like the ancient civilization that had all the technology that sank. Like that conspiracy is a fun one for me. My favorite Amtgard conspiracy is V8 was the sole and only project, or the only person who had any say on it was Brennan. And so everything bad about it can solely be placed on that one man.
It gets piled on, but I don't think it was Brent. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
There are a lot of things wrong with V8. Brennan was one voice of many who helped bring it about. He wasn't the only one. For all of his wrongs, he is not the martyr, at least when it comes to V8, that everyone likes to make him out to be.
That's fair. That's fair. Valance, I do have to take a break because Valance is like, damn, these new questions are good. I know you came in at a different time at KOK, Valance. But you, again, though, you gave me 3 hours of content, man. Like, even if I had all these questions, we would have never got to them. Damn. It was like 11 o'clock here by the time we finished. It was crazy. Anyways, Lightning would like to know, would you rather adopt 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck?
Horse-sized duck, because then that gives me something I can ride.
Fantastic. Stillhat would like to know, would you rather fight a duck-sized horse or a horse-sized duck?
Ooh, a duck-sized horse.
Okay. All right. Oh, and just to clarify, are birds real?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Godric, this question is what is dividing our household right now. Not a household in Amtgard, but my roommate and I, because there's a correct answer and there's an incorrect answer for this question. What's better, Code Red Mountain Dew or Baja Blast?
Baja Blast.
You son of
I've never enjoyed Code Red. I don't know what it is, but since it came out, it hasn't been my favorite.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't hang anymore.
No. Now Deverick is up 6-4 since we've asked the question. So whatever. He's short. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so Sir Nikolai would like to know, what's your favorite drink?
Non-alcoholic. There's a local drink called Ale 8 here in Kentucky. It's bottled here. It's just kind of a regional ginger ale type of soda. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite. Alcoholic drink, I like whiskey sours are probably my favorite.
Okay. All right. So are we gonna have a drink together while we're doing this show with
Sure.
Whack Podcast? All
No better way to do it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. This is our either or section. I'm just going to give you two options. You tell me one or the other. Apple or oranges? Oh, I'm sorry. Apple juice or orange juice?
Apple juice.
Apple juice. Hot dogs. Are they a sandwich or a taco?
Sandwich.
Ice cream or custard?
Oh, custard. That's hard. That's hard.
It becomes one of the hardest questions, right? Waffle or pancakes?
Pancakes.
Okay. Godric, how much is too much to spend on breakfast?
$12.
$12. Wow.
Because I like Cracker Barrel. My meal at Cracker Barrel is like 9 something. So with tip and all that, $12.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Favorite thing to add to a bowl of yogurt?
I don't eat yogurt. Granola, if I had to pick one. Granola.
Okay. All right. Okay. I was like, no, okay. All right. You've already picked Baja Blast. Don't knock no yogurt too. Jesus.
Too healthy for me, man.
Okay. All right. Last 5 question Morgan would like to know. Is oatmeal a soup?
Yes. Because it's warm. Because it's warm. If it were cold, it wouldn't be. But because it's warm, it is.
Oh, okay. All right. What is it if it's cold?
Not soup.
Not soup. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's soup or not soup, and that's it. That's all exists. Got it. Okay. Morgan would also like to know, what's the square root of a bowl of oatmeal?
Yogurt.
Okay. Morgan would like to know, can you, with as much detail as possible, explain what the color of the letter F smells like?
So the color of F is red, because if you get an F at school, it's a giant red. And so I'm going to say it's the smell of a permanent marker.
Okay. All right. You got logic, man. Oh, so good. Okay. Morgan would like to know, if you can meet anyone in history, who would it be and why? Is it Freddie Mercury?
He'd be on my list, but not my number one. Okay. I'm a history buff. I'm going to go with Kublai Khan. I would like to meet Kublai Khan or Marco Polo. Either one of them would be good.
Fantastic. Last question. Let me catch my breath. If it takes a chicken and a half, a day and a half to lay an egg and a half, how long would it take a grasshopper with a wooden leg to kick seed out of a dill pickle?
4 days.
4 days. Godric, thank you so much for coming on today. If you could just bear with me, I'll make my announcements and we'll say our goodbyes. Dragon's Spine. We have a merchant shop that's up and available. Look at this sick thing I got in the mail, y'all. Look at this. Kingdom of Kodiak merch. That is a bear screaming into a microphone. Get some. I also got a Order of the Ash bag for all the homies that are going to watch me carry my spells, and that's going to be sick. It's going to be a good time. But also, we're doing a Kingdom fundraiser. Bearzilla, Deverick and I's team, already has $40+. So we're already doing the hot chip challenge. We're already doing the pie in the face. We're already doing the ice bucket challenge. We're going to have to wear Crocs the next 5 Kingdom events, and you get to pick the colors. Yeah, it's that life right now.
That's the worst one right there.
Do you want to hear? Do you want to hear the worst part of all of it, Godric? My sister is the one that donated the money to get us there. My sister did that. And she doesn't even live here. She lives in Western New York. That's where she decided to put enough money in here so that we could get to the point where we have to do the chip challenge. The Crocs were one of the early ones, but you should find a way to donate if you can. Dragon's Fine. Please do that. Reach out to your family if they can do it. This is a way for the Kingdom to build coffers so that we can start making sure that we can support events. Big topic that we're handling right now. The coffer team is concerned about it.
Sell alcohol.
Sell alcohol, which, we should talk to people about selling alcohol. Redbeard, if you're listening to this, you bartend and have a license in the state of New Mexico. Maybe we should start working on that for Amcar Defense. Let's see. Mid-rain. I haven't heard any bids yet. I've talked to the king about once or twice a week. We need bids for mid-rain. That's going to be coming up here in February, which is right around the corner. So if you have a park that would be interested in it, even with the understanding that we may not be able to meet in person, put in for mid-rain. It's still a while away. There's a good chance we will meet in person, I think. Fingers crossed. I think that's everything we got. That's not true. Board of Directors nominations are up and available for Dragon's Spine. So if you're interested in joining me and Annabelle Lee and Blairow and Deverick and Stillhet and our monarch and our prime minister, whoever they are, whenever they are, to be the board of directors for another year and take care of the mundane stuff behind the scenes, go nominate yourself on the Kingdom page.
God bless you too if you do that.
Yeah, well,
that's a rough job.
This will be my third year in a row. I love it. The 4 years of playing Gap Card, 3 years I've been on the board of directors. I love it. Godric, you have a show called The Archives. I'm at some point going to come on there. We're going to talk.
Yep.
Plug Archives. Go watch it. I think you and I have both come to the agreement and understanding that people should be going to watch the ALU videos as well.
100%.
Like, they're older episodes now. There's some ALU content still coming out, but go to those ones and watch the stuff on the panels and see where AmpGuard was and understand that some of those voices are still prominent members of our community, and see if they're still, are those the same views they still have? Did they change their views? But go watch the videos. The content's being put out there for you guys so you can learn about AmpGuard. You can maintain the history. Go take advantage of it. Godric,
100% worth your time.
Yes, it is.
They're especially if you're going to pick a couple. They have ALU nights on knighthood. There are 4 or 5 of those. Those are fantastic. They also have resources on if you want to do like, how do you run quests on a local level? They have a panel on that. How do you run battle games at a kingdom level? They've got a panel on that. How do you take a park from a shire to a duchy? They've got a panel on that. If you have a question about a large scale AmpGuard related topic, odds are ALU has a video on it, and it is definitely worth your time.
Dragon's Fine, do you want to go see Sir Sane have to be serious and answer questions as a knight and not be a goofball? There's a video for it. Sorry, Charles, I had to do it. Godric, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a blast. It was wonderful to finally get to sit down and talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I had a good time.
Not a problem. And we have some episodes coming up. Keep an eye out for me going on the archives. But until next time, this has been Kingdom of Kodiak, and I'm Kodiak.